Abdulla Al Mamun to the show. Abdulla is a serial entrepreneur, angel investor, and a passionate project management professional. He is the founder and CEO of PMaspire Singapore, which is a top-ranked project management solution provider helping professionals in 120 countries and 7 international languages, and has global offices in Singapore, Canada, Bangladesh, and UAE. He was awarded the most influential CEO of 2018 by the Corporate Vision magazine of the UK. His company, PMaspire, ranked among the top 30 fastest growing companies in the Asia Pac region. And in addition, PMaspire has won National ICT Awards of 2018 and 2019 for e-learning practices and AI-based PMO software. Abdulla has also created an AI character called Aliee, which is a AI intelligence for PMO software. Abdulla's company, PMaspire, is one of the unique companies in the world offering the entire project management suite, a one-stop service for project management. And recently, I'm saying it's recently I heard about it, Abdulla is also founder and CEO of the PMO Global Institute, which is a certification body for PMO certifications, and he's on a mission to make PMO education available in 200 countries. Abdulla, welcome to the show.
Wow, the nicest introduction ever, Nigel. Thank you very much. Big ups to you.
No problem. No problem. It's great to have you on the show. Do you want to just give us a little bit more background, a little richer background from the back of that, where you're from, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I started my career in quite long back in 2000, early 2000, right? My family used to live in the country called Kuwait, and we moved around here and there. My family settled down in Singapore, and so that's almost like 15 years driving this, professional journey as well as the career, and that's almost like last 8 years into this entrepreneurship journey. So within these 8 years, it has been a quite long journey. Also, we have like now around 8 companies with 3 big, flagship companies. And one of them you have already mentioned is PMO Global Institute. And one of the technology company we have is PMaspire Singapore, which is actually helping all these different companies with the technologies and the project management solutions. Yeah.
Brilliant. So today really the area that we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about the PMO Global Institute. That's the bit I want to get into, but it's quite interesting. It's kind of the fact that you're an entrepreneur and angel investor and that sort of thing. How do you want to talk a little bit about that, about what made you want to be an entrepreneur? What made you want to start businesses? And obviously as an investor, what do you look for in opportunities?
That's a very good question, Michael. So, I was a sales guy in my professional career, right?
Right.
And I'm a business graduate, majoring in finance and minor in marketing. And I worked for many local and international companies and multinational companies, different business development and sales roles, right? So once, it's a very interesting connections with sales with project management. Once I become the country manager and playing these big roles, so I had to actually bring a lot of projects as a salesperson. Once these projects were coming like $1 million projects, then I have to get involved with the project management that get this delivery, then get the payments, get this delivery, get the payments, right? So then I really started liking the field of project management. I'm talking about the journey of 2009-10, right? Then I realized, oh my God, there are people who are PMP certified, they are managing projects, and they are making big, but they are actually doing good career, and also they're making a lot of money. Then I realized, why not I give it a try? Yeah, I'm a good speaker. Some people say, I can speak in front of people. And I thought, let me give it a try and see if I can, share this project management learning with the audience. So then I did my PMP and become a trainer. and then realize, oh my God, there is a huge opportunity in project management field in terms of e-learning, in terms of solution and technologies, right? Since I had this, technology background and sales background, I found this niche in project management. So then we set up, I gave up my big multinational jobs and, big corporate careers and started my entrepreneurship journey because I saw there is a huge gap locally and globally. And that was the era of cloud-based system, software as a service kind of model, right?
Yeah.
It's no longer this typical way of, installations. And if you have a cloud-based system, you have a software as a service kind of model, you can sell globally, any parts in the world, as long as you can actually, promote your products and services, right? So then we started working on developing the products. In 2014, we launched our first exam simulation platform in English for project management, then agile project management. Then we created a platform which is now available in almost like 7 languages. Right, we have like more than 120,000 users, more than 100 countries.
Wow.
And in fact, we also try to understand that, how we can influence in this particular project management world. And we figured out that those who are trainers, project management consultants, training companies, they could be a big influencer into this field. So we made them partners. So in under PMaspire, we have like 600 plus global partners, right? They are using, our technology platforms and system to educate their students and their communities, right? So that was the early stage journey where, we figured out a big gap in this e-learning space in project management, very niche in project management. We try
Yeah.
to cover it up. Then rest is journey actually. Then it's, entrepreneurship is more like a journey where you start walking on the street and you figured out there are new paths are there, the new gaps are there. So, and entrepreneurs are always risk takers. So, yeah, so now we have like almost 8 companies in our group, and yeah, really enjoying this particular journey. Yes.
Brilliant. Yeah, I can see. It's interesting because there is. I, I'm quite often approached by people via LinkedIn messages saying, "Do you want a PMP certificate? Do you want an Agile certificate? Do you want to do all these different things?" Which I find quite interesting because it's that usual thing, isn't it? Is if there's a lot of people trying to do it, there tends to be quite a big demand. And I know that when I started back in 2002, when I got my PMP, it
Wow.
there was Cheetah Learning, there was Rita. There's three or four.
Rita, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there was three or four ways that you could learn PMP. There was
Yes, yes.
very very small amount, and it was at the sort of the internet was just about starting, if you like, in some ways, and the idea of doing virtual training and that sort of stuff was quite weird then to think if that would happen now. And I know I saw something. I'm trying to think when it might have been a couple of years ago now, and I've seen it repeated a couple of times from PMI, where they're talking about the demand in 2030 and 2040 for project
Yes.
managers and in skills, and all they can see is it just zooming up and getting higher and higher, and I can see that we've got the need for this training, uh, and more accessibility to the training. So obviously from a business opportunity point of view, I can see how that would be an appealing point of view. So it's quite interesting that the way that you're doing it and the fact that you're getting that reach there is, I suppose the question I ask, and this isn't a criticism, is how do you see it from different from that virtual learning to that face-to-face learning? How do you see the pros and cons?
Uh,
Because there's pros and cons on both sides, isn't there? But I think focusing really on having that rounded project manager walking out of your course, virtually walking out your course. And I know that actually just because you've got a certification doesn't mean you're good at doing the job. But how do you see the differences there in the pros and cons?
That's a very good question, Nigel. So recently, we had a meeting with a couple of big corporates, right? So they wanted to incorporate our, PMO certification into their programs, right? And they said, we'd like to actually, promote your certification because they're a really big company, through our big, 2000 network of partners. And we'd like to have these, certification programs in what do you call it, recorded version, so that people can buy the recorded version and they can actually go to take preparation for the certificate. We said no. We said no. We said no. Yeah, if you say no, virtual learning has a couple of ways. The number one is virtual learning. You can have actually a live instructor trainer. There are many tools out there where you can make the sessions very engaging, right? So live instructor trainer is also part of virtual learning. Another one is the typical one is that you record the training and the participants basically watch those videos and take preparations, right? Because myself, I'm a trainer. I have trained more than 5,000 people around the world, both in business, in project management, and PMOs. Okay. And I always say this, that, when it comes to quality, when it comes to learning, effective learning, live instructor training is there's no alternative of it. Because if most of our learning, that's, even the PMO certifications that we have, it's very much hands-on driven, case study driven. Like we'll be giving the students this is how you need to prepare a PMO roadmap. This is a template, and this is how you should do it. Do it as a group, then give the presentation. And it's also connected with the case study. So it's more like very practical approach of doing it. If it is like recorded version, how do you have this interaction with the team and with the instructor? It's not possible, right? Yes, but my always recommendation is that go for live instructor training first. Then if you need to recall the memories, then go for this recorded version, which is also fine, right? So as a trainer, I always prefer, it could be live training classroom, it could be live training online, but the live instructor training is not as a trainer, I would say.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So it's kind of getting the best of both worlds, isn't it, really, in some ways? Because you've got, as you say, you've got that interaction, but you've got that ability to review and go over it again to remind yourself on that. Whereas sometimes I've done a really good stakeholder management course, not stakeholder management, sorry, strategic planning course a couple of weeks ago.
Absolutely.
Really enjoyed it, learned a lot of interaction with the people I was doing with it. But now the memories are softened on what we did in the session, and it's only a couple of weeks ago. There are things in there I remember, but I've got no opportunity to go back over that other than the booklet. Whilst good booklet got useful information in there, going back over what we actually did in the session is quite difficult to do. So I can see how that makes a massive difference. So that's really interesting, really interesting. So I suppose moving on from that, you mentioned I mentioned in the introduction your AI tool, Aliee, is it? And I just wonder, tell us about that. How did that come about? Why did that come about?
Oh, that's it. Interesting story. Yeah, right. So, as I told you, my first company is PMaspire. So it's a tech company. And as I also mentioned, that we didn't go this typical training path to teach PMP or project management. We wanted to be the technology solution provider for the training companies. So it's not so we had very few competitions in this area because we are giving the simulations, we are giving the the training simulator, we are giving the elements platforms, we are giving the certification body platform, so that the training companies can use it, right? So we had a very few competitions in this business. So the next one is, once we started communicating and working on project management, the big demand came up for the PMO setup. Okay, because a lot of companies, they are actually looking. They were struggling, and I'm talking about year 2015 and 16.
Yeah.
Then we set up another way in PMaspire to work on PMO setup projects, right? And we had a fantastic, big, brilliant team we had, right? So then we set up PMOs in a couple of banks and a couple of real estate companies. And we call it the concept called 2PG. Initially what the PMO as a consultant we do, the phase one, we go ahead and do basically, do the gap analysis. Then basically we set up the policy, procedures, and governance, right? So normally we take like 3 to 6 months to complete the phase one.
Yeah.
Then we hand it over to the PMOs that, this is your guideline and policy, how you should operate your PMO. The gap was once we started setting up all these PMOs, the big gap globally, the big gap is there was no solution which was designed for PMOs. Right. So there are a lot of project management systems. They are like, very good in task management. We call it fancy task management. You go there, create task in Kanban board, drag and drop, you do it fantastic.
Yeah.
Right. There are good projects
pretty.
like, yeah, very pretty, very pretty, very pretty. So we call it fancy, project management tools. And very good, like, you can do, task management. There are Microsoft project, which is very good for scheduling. Right. So there are, a lot of other, Jira is very good for agile project management. Again, it's more like a task management, right? But when it comes to PMO, and a lot of our projects, PMO projects were failing in long run. Why I say failing? Because these were not sustainable. I mean, once we handed it over, then it was not sustainable because the sponsors and the PMOs, they couldn't continue it. Maybe because the top management didn't realize the value of the PMO. And one of the big reasons is that they were not using technologies to generate their reports, right? And many of the PMOs, they were having like 4 or 5 systems. They're using Jira, they're using Microsoft Project, they're using PowerPoints, they're using Excels to create all these, the portfolio reports that they need to submit to their management. So then I went ahead with a lot of technology companies, the project management solution companies. 2016, I said, can we have a partnership? Yeah, so yes, they said, yeah, we can have the partnership. And I said, but I have conditioned that you need to add these new features into your project management system because your current project management system is not aligned with the need of PMO. It's good for project management, but not designed for PMO, right? So it will not serve the purpose. And many of them actually, they didn't actually, didn't buy my proposal, right?
Yeah.
Then we realized that, we are a software company. We understand project management. We understand PMO. So then in 2017, we took a big call. I, as the CEO, took a big call that now we are going to create our own system. Yeah. Then it was always bear in mind, once we designed the whole PMO, what do you mean by PMO solution? That, for example, the PMO suite we have is designed actually for the PMOs. Like we have like 4 type of roles. Like we have the master sponsor, we have the sponsor role, we have the manager role, and the user role, right? And you can actually manage hybrid project, agile project, waterfall projects, even the portfolio management you can have. That was the phase 1 of the project. And phase 2, in 2018, we started working on what are the typical challenge for PMOs and project managers in project management. Number 1, you see, normally we say that risk has no holidays, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So risk has no holidays. Now let's say someone has registered risk in the middle of the night, and Mr. X, probably the sponsor of the project, is accountable for this particular risk, and he's sleeping. And this is a very severe risk. If you do not address this risk within the next couple of hours, that will become an issue. So do you expect your team members to be live for 24 hours? And we sponsored, no. Why not? We thought, why not we use the technology to give this kind of reminders, right? So that's why, we created Aliee, that is a virtual assistant for PMOs and project managers. So Aliee, what she'll do, she will keep giving call to the sponsor. Doesn't matter what time it is, because it's a severe risk. If you do not address it right now, that will become an issue. It is 1. Number 2, recently I have another signature systems called How AI Drives PMO with practical simulation, actually, right? That we have invented. So number two case study I can tell you. Think of the situation. The project managers spend a lot of time creating the task, milestone, subtasks, allocating time and everything to create the WBS, right? It's the manual approach. You write the WBS.
Yep.
Why not Aliee helps you create your WBS? Right? Think of
Sounds
it.
yeah. That sounds That, if someone could help me write a project plan when I need to pull one together instead of me having to think about it, I'd love it. Even if it was just a
you give
start
instructions.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of ways you can do it. Number one, you can give the instructions, Aliee, do this, do this, do this. Aliee creates the
Yeah.
WBS for you, right? This is a voice command. Number two is that you can ask Aliee, find out similar project we have done in last 5 years.
Yeah.
Aliee does the research for you. She finds the relevant project and create the WBS based on the last projects. That saves you time. Another case is related is that one of the big mistakes many of the PMOs we don't capture lessons learned and we don't learn from our lessons.
Yeah.
Every time we reinvent the wheel when it comes to lessons learned, we do try to do the same mistakes again and again. What this is called machine learning. What Aliee is doing, she's learning. We have a lessons learned, form in our system, right? So where you put what are the things you have done in this particular milestone, what are the mistakes you have done in this particular task, what are the mistakes you have done in this kind of project, that kind of project, right? So now what Aliee is doing, she is learning that this kind of project, this kind of task, this kind of mistakes, our team members normally do. She's learning it. And we call it actually machine learning, right? So she's learning, now she's creating this pattern, right? Okay, so now how this pattern helps? Next time you're creating a WBS, you're saying that milestone 1, task 1, and you're confused. This task 1, maybe PMP training someone will do, or PMO training someone will do. PMO training is one of the tasks. Then Aliee will come up and say, all right, this kind of task was done 10 times before, right?
Yeah.
And this is the history that Mr. X success rate is 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%. Now you choose for this particular task, who would be your right resource? And you say, go for Mr. Y. And she selects the right resource for this particular project based on the historical learning, right? So I can give you 10 more, real life scenarios, how AI actually really operating, how Aliee is actually helping our project managers and PMOs to create their, the reports, WBS, and managing their projects, right? Yes, nice.
It's a fascinating topic. I know I've had over the years a couple of conversations with different people around how we can use AI. I know it's in project management. I think PMO slightly different as well. You kind of got different demands there, and I know I'm talking to a little bit with the Major Projects Association with Jonathan and Andrew in that area, where I think they're looking at cross-industry knowledge to help with these big projects where things go wrong. How do we learn from each of them? And I think this is a massive hole that it's really hard to fill the hole in, to be honest, because you can remember what you learnt in a project. You can even be really good at recording it all the way through your project. Then it's mining it. Then it's using that data and being able to understand how that applies to your next project. And I know that some of the stuff that Shark Tower are doing, that Craig McKay was working with, they were looking at some AI stuff on how you can, and some of the AI reporting, things like that. And I know talking to Ricardo Vargas, he has something similar again, but he's trying to look cross organization rather than, I say similar, it's the concept's similar rather than being organizational, because the difficulty I've seen is that you're right, we write lessons learned, we find them out, great, and then they go in a drawer or they go up on a board somewhere, and some of the people involved in it might remember it, that, oh God, we've got one like this, let's use this, but that doesn't always happen. And the thing that I find as well, and I don't know what your thoughts on this are, we're very insular. We're in our own echo chamber because it's our own organisation's learning. Now, we might learn to do that differently. Great. But actually, if we were able to draw upon industry knowledge, there might be another better way to do it. And I wonder how you, I'm assuming Aliee is kind of aimed at an organisation and you put it together rather than joining it in this big beast, because I know the issues of joining it, all of that knowledge and helping all of us is quite difficult. Sort of security and data protection, all that sort of thing. But what are your thoughts about that sort of wider rollout?
Well, you see, AI, this exploration will continue, I think another couple of decades, like in next
Yeah,
20, 30 years. It's not a one-day journey because there are a lot of new ways we can actually, innovate and explore and use, AI into this project management world, right? So it was surprising that, there was not much work done in AI in project management. AI
yeah,
is very advanced in many of other industries, but somehow in project management, probably that was waiting for us to actually explore, right? So I think it's a continuous, learning approach for AI, herself, because and takes it may take years. And there are a couple of case studies. I mean, a use case we are working on. I think it will give us results after 2 years.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's not a so it's so and again that's because a lot of investment. Different industries requires, you are absolutely correct. Different industry requires different kind of learning patterns for AI. So I believe that it's started working. I'm not sure how many companies, actually tech companies, are still working only in project management AI. We are one of them, but I see next 3 to 5 years is going to be a big revolution in project
yeah.
management if we keep investing in this particular domain, right? And that will become easy. The concept is very simple. Many of them say that because of AI, job market will crash, people will lose job. I don't think so, because on the other hand, if I talk about in terms of PMO maturity, the PMO maturity is starting from level 1 to level 5, right? It's
Yeah.
starting from the infant stage to optimal stage. Among all the PMOs, 88% PMOs still operating in level 1. That means they have no defined processes. Right, level 1, 88%. That means think
That's
level of the
crazy.
maturity, how long it will take. This is crazy. Trust me, this is crazy. This is one of the business case why we came to this to solve these problems globally, because these PMOs will get matured in next 10 to 20 years. So they need quality contents. They need quality trainers, PMO trainers. They need the good quality solutions.
Yeah.
So that's why we are into this particular area to solve problems. On the other hand, look, many of the statistics also saying that by next 2027, 2030, 2040, there will be millions of job gap in project management,
Yeah.
right? Millions of job gaps. So technology is there to support us. They're not going to replace us. They will make us smarter. They will make us smarter.
Well,
That's for sure.
yeah,
But
you're
yeah.
you're right. It's like the machines, isn't it? Where you've got factory the idea is, if you're going to use AI in any part of industry, you use it to take away the mundane. That's
Yeah.
what you do, and then what you can do is have the human element of it rather than dealing with the mundane processing that, like any automation, integration, APIs between systems. Rather than taking it from one system and typing it in another, we join an API, it moves from that again at some point. So, well, what about our data entry people? They're not going to be able to do data entry now. But actually, it takes away the non-value add items. And what you want then is for your project manager and your PMO analyst and a PMO team, rather than sitting there going, let's get this data processed, let's get this done,
Yes.
let's try and work out it. It's that little bit of it's your own assistant, isn't it? It's going, like you say, you've got something
Yes, yes, yes,
identifies
absolutely.
this is a resource risk. Think about this little flag here, doing that,
Yes.
rather than, because a lot of the things I see, we don't have tools that help the project managers manage the project. We don't have
True,
tools that
true.
help the PMO identify areas that need support. It is a lot of the project and program management tools I see out there quite often are about reporting to the seniors, and it's the focus is about the reporting to the seniors, not about enabling the people doing the work. And I think that's where a lot of the holes are. Even your RAG status on something is not about fixing, because the person who puts the RAG status on is the project manager or the PMO team using some criteria that they decide what the RAG status is. So that doesn't. I remember seeing that one time someone was pitching the way the project management tool was put together, and there it is. This is new. It's brilliant. We can use this. And one of the things they said is, so when you put this data in here with your RAG statuses, your dates and things, a bunch of metadata, you get this report that pops up, and it's got pretty graphs on it. It's got these pictures, and I'm sitting there, and it says, and this tells you your RAG status on this screen. And I'm like, the PM, he or she just keyed that in. They don't need a pretty picture. They know what it is. But that was the pitch. It was for the project management team. And actually, it's not. It's for and there's nothing wrong with that. The portfolio, the stakeholders, the senior management, they need that information. But actually, we need to turn it on its head and go, right, how do we enable the project manager? Because better reporting to senior management isn't going to get better project delivery and more predictable project delivery.
And very importantly, the report has to be real time. Real time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That means real time. You need it now, not 1 week old data. That's another gap.
But the thing is, you get 1 week old data that's put into there by the project manager. But because there's so many layers within the organization, it has to be reviewed at different points. So it can be a week out of date, if not longer. And I agree. It's interesting because I was listening to a podcast last night, Manager Tools, great podcast, where they were talking about reporting for project managers, and from their point of view, they advise managers in general, and what they were talking about, who does what by when, and they're talking about the fact that you shouldn't have a central person collating the status of your project. You shouldn't have the project manager, the PMO analyst, or whoever pulling all this data together in one place to then pass it up, because you've got, if they're on holiday, if they make a mistake, if something changes quickly, there's a delay in getting that done there. And I haven't finished listening to the whole podcast, but I think the gist of it is you should be reporting at task level, and the people who should be reporting at task level are the people doing the task, which is, in project management, can be hard. Getting a Jira ticket updated with the latest status is a joke on the internet, basically, from all project managers and Scrum Masters. But if you have that situation where you have the tooling, where you have the capability, where someone can go, right, I'm working on this task, I've got this problem, 50%, I think it's going to take this much longer, and they can update it, and they're easily able to update it quickly, and then that is automatically aggregated, and then you can use your AI, can't you, as well, then, that goes, right, okay, hang on, 40 of our developers are taking 10% longer than they thought they were going to do. There's a problem brewing. Whereas that cascade up, by the time it gets up here, you don't see that. You need summarized, identified, granular detail, which is different to what we get. We only get summarized. You don't see the detail, whereas the detail needs to flag up, doesn't it?
In fact, normally we say that, you don't have to do any of this. You ask Aliee to generate the report, or you just go to the reporting and click your portfolio report. That will get generated real time, right?
Yeah.
Because there is no, in a real time kind of solution like, the AI system that we have, we only ask for 5 minutes from each team member. Yeah. Those people who are into this particular system as a user, they just need to spend 5 minutes in a day, every day, 5 minutes. They put their information, update their task. Only 5 minutes, each team member. This is all we ask. And everything else will be real time. You don't have to accommodate, aggregate anything. Everything will be real time. Wherever the bosses are, wherever they're traveling or on the sky, they will just go and click. They will see the real time data. And that's very important. They really see the real time data, day basis, weekly basis, and monthly basis.
Yeah, I can see that. It's I can see this nirvana where I think it could be really good, and it would be good for the team, good for the program manager, good for the project manager, good for PMO, good for everybody. But it's just getting that there. I suppose taking a step on one of the things we were going to talk about, and as typical with my calls, we end up going down rabbit holes that I'm interested in. let's talk about the PMO Global Institute. I I think I warned you on this question anyway when we had our little pre-meet, was there are a lot of certifications around the world on project management, program management, agile, in the whole industry. You've got PMI, APM, IPMA, Scrum Org, all and there's probably a whole bunch that I don't know as well, to be honest. There's probably that many around. So I suppose the main question, my first question really, is why do we need another certification body? And what caused you to start this?
So that's a very good question, Snyder. So what happened? Let me go back to the background again. Why we initiated PMO Global Institute, right? So as I mentioned, once we started working this PMO space in 2017, we realized that, oh my God, it's a big gap in the market because many of the, and we did a huge comprehensive research based on 10,000 professionals, project managers and PMOs. What are the PMO challenges? And we had some scary data. Like, for PMP, we have like 1.2 million PMP certified professionals. Prince2, we have like another 1.2 to 1.5 million. So almost like 3 million certified project management professionals we have. Number one. Number two, probably non-certified could be like another 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. So these 15 million, project professionals who are actively on the field. So, these certifications are good for project managers. Once they're growing up into their career, what's next? Become a head of projects, become head of PMO, right? Become a portfolio head, right? So then you'll be surprised to know that, we figured out, there was no structured framework where, our professionals can learn from starting from there to there, what are the step-by-step process. We, as per our research, we didn't find a comprehensive one, number one. Number two, we didn't find, quality contents, which is practical exercise driven. Practical exercise driven means, you see, where we went ahead and did these, PMO consulting projects, all these big four companies, right? The consulting projects, big companies, they typically charge like $40,000 to $50,000 for PMO setup. And what are the key deliverables? Key deliverables are they set up the policy, they set up the SOPs, they set up the guidance and governance, 3-4 months, $40,000-$50,000. And because of this, many of the big and struggling PMOs, they never thought to afford this kind of consultancy. That means there is a price issue. There is a price issue, and that was only stuck with few big companies. Like, I don't want to mention these names. The big four are there. So that means how we can make these templates, policy, procedure, governance, and guidelines and frameworks available. Right. That's why we created, a guidebook called PMO Guidebook. I think I can just give you a show. Yeah, this is one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a comprehensive 450 pages guidebook we have, and it took us a lot research and investment. So it has two parts. Number one is it has the guidebook section, which is for our regular members. Another section we have, which is more like 300 pages, which is for our consultants and trainers, right? So the second part actually has, we are giving all the templates, SOPs, and everything so that they can actually, take these templates, SOPs, and everything and do the consultancy in a very reasonable price. That's how we can transfer the knowledge. Another big challenge is we did another research. How many PMO trainers do we have around the world? We have like 10,000 PMP trainers. Yeah. Probably another 10,000 like, Prince2 trainers. How many PMO trainers do we have? If you want to share this, scale up this knowledge, PMO learning, if you want to create more professionals, you need quality trainers, right? That's why under PMO Global Institute, we have an authorized business partner instructor program where they go through the extensive TOT program, right? TOT programs and with hands-on simulation. Everything is hands-on, right? So, and also we created a business model for them also, so that actually also they can actually, create a career as a PMO trainer, as a PMO consultant, and we are giving them all the resources that they need, right? And we have a certification called CBPMO certification. CBPMO is the framework name that we have. And if you look at our framework, probably, you can add this associate member link, which is free of cost, into your podcast later on, where people can sign up for free and can download this CBPMO framework, which has 4 layers, and probably this one of the most comprehensive PMO framework you've ever seen. That it covers starting to PMO leadership, including emotional intelligence, executive sponsorship, to agile PMO. All area it covers actually in this particular framework, right? So we are trying to cover address couple of challenges. Number one is we want to make this PMO learning available. Otherwise, you cannot fix this. The large number of PMO failures in the world. You need professionals who knows how to set up a PMO, who knows how to run a PMO, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we have these guidebook, we have the framework, we have the instructor program, because we need quality trainers to teach the same quality. And as I mentioned, our training, the TUT program is fully live training based on master trainers. We only have very few master trainers that transferred equally with the same knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So we don't give this recorded version of the learning because it doesn't work in the long run. Then we have the business model also, and we're also having a lot of events, investing in events a lot. We're having a lot of events in every month in different countries. So for every month, see, on average, we have like 4 events globally. And also we are making another big investment. There are many project management professional associations.
Yeah.
They are connected by the potential, project managers and PMP certified professionals and Prince 2. How many PMO communities do we have locally? We have many online, but how many local PMO communities do we have?
Yeah.
That's why we have a community engagement manager. Recently, we had a visit in UK also to set up a UK PMO community of practice. So very soon we are going to have at least 10 PMO communities, local PMO communities, because you see PMOs and project managers are two different scale, right?
Yeah.
PMOs normally they prefer to be connected with other PMOs and the C levels, okay, and the portfolio managers. So that's why we're making a lot of investment to create these PMO local communities. And again, with a mission that we want to make this learning available and share our case studies, share our best practices locally with the local volunteers and the community practitioners, right? So there are many reasons, many problems we're trying to solve. And, in this journey to actually, our mission, I say, normally, as per different statistics, it says that about 75% PMOs get shut down within 3 years. That is scary. That's really scary. Another statistics, as I mentioned, 88% PMOs still operating, 88% operating in maturity level 1. They need to go to maturity level 5, right? So they need guidance, they need solution, they need best practices. Okay, so as a CEO, I have taken my mission is to actually, with all of our resources, with all of our knowledge and experience, and transferring this, knowledge and experience locally, we want to, in next 3 years, we want to bring down the 75% to 70%, 5% improvement in PMO practices. And
Yeah.
if we can really do it through developing resources, with developing, PMO professionals around the world, hopefully we'll be saving trillions in the project economy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. So now I understand why. It's kind of it's that thing. It's kind of making sure and understanding the focus, because I think there is from my own personal point of view, that I found certification a double sort of thing. One was an internal validation of my capability.
Yeah.
So validating actually, yeah, my skills as a project manager meet the level they need to meet. I still look at new certifications at different times, and then I also, and I'm not sure. I think there is a level of external recognition as well, but it's interesting because I know I work for organisations that whilst they find the certification thing interesting and useful, they're not that wild. They didn't seem that invested in certification as an organisation. So it's seeing that. So I think the knowledge that you gain from these programs is great, and I think attaining the certification is that validation, and then it's a case of how that translates into industry. Whereas if we look at some other professions, if you look at a doctor, if you look at a lawyer, if you look at an accountant, they'll kind of go, right, okay, you're not going to be able to run a finance division unless you've got the finance qualifications. Whereas in our industry, if you spent 30 years delivering projects, that's the validation point, isn't it? The certification and the qualifications aren't quite the same. I know the UK Association for Project Management have managed to get a chartered certification that we're working on for quite some time actually to get that through as a chartered qualification. And again, but even then, there's no restriction on people delivering projects if they haven't got that chartered certification. So the whole certification body pitch, if you like, is quite a difficult one. I recognise that, but then I suppose there's an industry. You look at technical qualifications, Amazon, Azure, being certified in their different types of capability. That is something that people do look for in roles. Yeah. So it's a fascinating area. So, you mentioned the sort of framework of the PMO framework stuff. Do you want to just talk us through a little bit of the highlights of that? You mentioned there was a few layers on there. Do you want to just chat through on your highlights on there? Because I know it's on your website and kind of people are able to get at, aren't they? So.
Let me find out the framework if I can find it. Right.
I sprung this question on you, really, haven't I? Apologies.
Let me find it out. So, this is what it is. The framework, right?
Yep.
So this framework actually has, we call it we have one signature section called Fast Track Your PMO. Means how can you expedite your PMO with this very simple framework. This framework has 4 layers. So it's starting from the foundation layer. Then it has the executable layer. Then it has the supporting layer. Then it has the leadership layer. Right. So first one is the foundation layer. So in the foundation layer itself, right? So this framework itself is also kind of based on agile principles. The whole framework is based on agile principles. How does it work? In the foundation layer, we simply go to we advise our consultant, go to the management first. We spend some time, have some coffee, take them out, and learn what are their key challenges.
Yeah.
Write it down. Ask them, what are the pains you have? Tell me, what are the pains you have? So, then try to figure it out, connect with the overall corporate objectives. So first thing in the foundation layer, finding out the challenges and the business objectives. Why they need a PMO? Do they really need a PMO? Or try to convince them how they can start a PMO, right? So the first one is business objectives. Then there's a whole part, we call it PMO strategy. PMO strategy has a couple of components. Number one, it's more like, we call it the health check. In the PMO whole strategy, it has a couple of components: health check, then basically maturity assessment, then basically define the functions, then basically the roadmap, and basically the PMO charter. In typical project management, what we do, we sign the project charter as a first process.
Yeah.
Here, we do it quite later in PMO, because before that, first thing we do, the health check. So normally, it's more a health check means if it is an existing PMO, right? or basically even a new PMO. Both cases, health check is required because you have a pain. You go to your doctor, and doctor quickly ask you a couple of questions, right? So
Yeah,
he
makes
asks you
sense.
like, how do you manage change? How do you manage risk? How do you manage issues, right? So when is the last time you had any formal audit or something like that? So we have like 15, 20 quick check. This we call it health check to really understand where is your really pain points. Right. So then basically, consultants, they need to actually, prepare a report based on this, talk with the management again. These are your core area where you need to improve. Right. Then the next phase, if it is existing PMO, we go and do a detailed maturity assessment. Where do they belong? So in terms of maturity, there are 5 layers of
Yeah,
maturity, of a PMO we consider, right? Starting from, the initial stage, then developing stage, then define. Define is the third layer. Then growing, then basically the optimum stage. Optimum is the matured PMOs
yeah,
who are actually very mature to operate, right? As I mentioned to you, as per one of the statistics of PMI, around 70, mid-sized and large organization, about 71% PMOs, they have some kind of PMO. They call it PMO. And by the way, there are 150 plus names you can call a PMO as a PMO. There are 150 names. So different organizations call it in different way, right?
yeah, yeah. I've
Happily,
heard
they have a PMO.
I've heard the phrase PMO used in a multitude of different um, ways, even in the same organisations, where
Yes,
what
same
people think,
organizations.
and the way that the PMO team operate for some areas, some projects, is very different to how they operate for
Yes,
other
yes,
projects as well, because you
yes,
get
yes, yes,
um, that lack of
yes,
sometimes too much central, sometimes not enough central kind of
yes, yes,
guidance and
yes, yes,
processes and procedures. And quite often it's the processes and procedures they're running are ones that are the project management procedures, and there aren't the things that are specific to the PMO side of it. It's kind of yeah, it's
yes.
just what I've seen.
And in fact, we have actually in our guidebook, we have covered at least 15 types of PMOs,
Right.
right? So which includes like you can have like different functional PMOs, Center of Excellence, Program Management Office, Portfolio Management Office, Enterprise PMOs. Recently, we are adding security PMO because security is a big concern for many organizations. So they
Yeah.
have like they set up a PMO called security PMO. Right. So recently we had an event with ISACA, who actually are the certification body for security certification like CISA and all these things, right? So yeah, there we have shared this concept called, how the security PMOs operate. So anyways, so I was talking about these, maturity assessment. So you need to check where really the PMO stands in terms of maturity, right?
Yeah.
Then you define, you go to different departments and you ask your management, like, what are the functions do you want? What are the functions or what are the activities do you expect your PMO will perform on behalf of people, right? You define the features and functions that the PMO is going to do. Next thing is very important called roadmap. Here basically really the consultant needs to negotiate with the top management. Here the difference comes in. Normally what happens when many of the cases, because we have many accidental PMO.
Yeah.
What do I mean by accidental PMO? He was a fantastic project manager. You just made him a PMO, promoted as a PMO, and he has no idea like how to drive this PMO, right? So anyway, so basically in the roadmap is a very important section. In the roadmap, you really we normally recommend that you set up a roadmap starting from 3 months delivery to 5 years to 10 years delivery. It depends on you, but you have some shorter duration based deliveries. Like at least you should set up that first delivery you are going to give after 3 months,
Yeah.
yeah, then 6 months, then 1 year, and create this roadmap. This whole roadmap is more like program management because and in small projects of large projects, right? Many of the cases PMO fails because top management they really don't realize the benefits of the PMO in shorter duration. They see they keep investing year after year, and there's no visible results. That's why we suggest go for a roadmap, break it down small pieces, right? And go ahead and give something to your management. Then we go and do the PMO charter. Now sign it off. Give me the authority, give me the the finance, give me the resources. Then you sign it off. I'm just covered this foundation layer. Okay, so there is then after foundation layer, you have this executable layer. In the executive layer, you do the piloting. You decide what kind of PMO you want. Do you want an agile PMO, right? Do you want actually a security PMO? Do you want a center of excellence? You set up the KPI. You assess the
Yeah.
the profitability of your PMO. Normally, in another conference I was talking about, many of the sponsors are afraid because they consider PMO as a cost center.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we say no. PMO is your profit center, could be your profit center.
Yeah.
And we came up with a method and the formula how you can make your PMO as a profit center. Now think of the value addition. Once the top management, the stakeholder sees it's not a cost center, it's bringing value, it's really can prove that it's really bring profit. The whole thinking process mindset gets changed. It's really
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
The whole concept is available in this guidebook.
Yeah, because if you sit there and you take
Yeah,
your PMO as being right, okay, if we've got this hopper where all of our projects go into, right, and that PMO delivers business savings, therefore, if we're delivering business savings through that PMO, and they recognise those savings as part of the PMO rather than the functional savings, and it might only be your first year savings or
absolutely.
whatever like that. But you know what I
Absolutely.
mean? It's driving savings across your business or creating opportunities across your business.
Perfect.
Um,
Absolutely.
I can see how you can. I know I've seen a situation where there was someone I know who was working with a within a engineering type firm, and they were doing vehicle repair, and the service area where they were doing all the services and fixing the bikes and doing all that sort of stuff. They would have to, I can't remember how it worked, but basically I've seen them do it where you pull from the parts area, all the profit was going into the parts area for part sales. Now, if it was a part sale that was driven by a piece of service, the service didn't get the benefit. So the service area looks like a cost area because it's mandate hours only, and that's all you can charge, and that's all again. But actually, they're part of what's driving the cost. Driving the sale of those. If you didn't have that service area, you wouldn't have those. And it's the same with the
True.
projects, isn't it?
True.
If you don't have your project
True.
area, if you don't have your PMO running properly, you can, whilst you can deliver these projects and you can deliver those savings, you can leverage on it, and they're driving those savings out of there by running those projects. And it's I see the rise of it's not that big yet, but the rise of the chief projects officer that is
Yes. Yes.
started
Yes.
to appearing. And then you start thinking, well, yeah, if you've got a chief project officer, is that where we can support them in being able to get those business benefits? Because I think that's one thing I see. I'm not convinced that
Perfect.
that business benefits are properly highlighted, properly identified, properly measured, and properly reported,
True.
because the functional areas go, we've done that project, tick, and they're moving on to the next thing that they need to sort out. Do you know what I mean? They've got their next thing, they need to next enhancements, they need to improve stuff. Whereas if you've got your PMO set up, that enterprise PMO or whatever,
Yeah.
and they've got a remit, because the project manager's gone when the project's delivered. If they're there for longer than 3 years, hopefully, and they can do that benefits management, benefits identification, benefits measurement, that helps you with your learning. That makes sure that you see that you've got
Absolutely
those
right.
benefits. And I think quite often it's all a case of, right, project's done, woohoo,
Absolutely.
run. Project's done, woohoo, next thing. And that benefits management, and I might be doing some organisations really a disservice, but I don't hear lots of people talking about whether a project is a success from a point of view of the benefits it's delivered to the organisation it's working in. The measurement of success is time, quality, cost, which you can deliver the most useless piece of crap to an organisation to time, to quality, and to cost. But the fact that it's neither
True.
use anymore, it's like
Absolutely.
if someone said to me, yeah, build a really good 35mm camera, Well, I know there's people who like using 35mm cameras, but there ain't that huge amount of demand as there was 20 years ago. Now the digital cameras are there. If you were building that, and I think that you've got a few organisations that didn't look at the benefits and just delivered what they need to deliver, and what they delivered, the world's moved on, and that's too late. And they've just wasted money. And I think it's a shame that in projects we get labelled with failures for projects, and quite often, quite right, they are failures. Yes. But I think the thing I hear is what is the definition of a failure? And typically it's the time cost quality is the definition of a failure, and quite often it's the big massive projects that are implemented, and actually it's I don't know, again, the Major Projects Association and the stuff that Bent I've forgotten his second name now. There's a few people out there who have a lot of theories around the incredibly large pieces of work, and I think, from my point of view, I think it's an eternal optimism on estimating as a world. And predicting the future is impossible. It's yeah. Sorry, we've got a rabbit hole we could go on forever down there, couldn't we? Yeah. But I think I can see, from my point of view, I can understand where the gap is for this, where it could be there. It's a case of understanding the organisations, getting the organisations on board, I suppose, on people getting it. So you've probably got. So it's, I think that's the same with project management certifications, wouldn't it? It's kind of when 50 odd years ago when PMI started, when 50 odd years ago when the APM started, people started with the idea of, well, we need to get some standardisation and some, and even now, I think the selling of the value of those project management training to people it's going up, but it's still not seen as a default, is it? It's not seen as something with organisations that go, oh, let's get that project manager trained, because depending on where these organisations are and how much change they've done, they'll still sit there and go, well, Judy's a really good engineer. We need someone to manage this engineering project. Judy, will you manage this engineering project? And the accident, all of the people I've talked to about their project management,
accidental project manager, yes.
They've all come through, and there's some of us like me, old people, it's a 20-year career or so, longer than that, 25-year career. That when I started, I was I failed as an accountant, moved into IT essentially, and then in IT they wanted me to, but could you manage this? And it's like, okay, and that's how I fell into it. It was never and even then there was project management capabilities and stuff within that organisation, but that was a really big organisation. I think the smaller and medium-sized organisations maybe not got that already structure there. I think we're kind of coming up on an hour now. It's been a fascinating conversation.
Yeah.
It's
yes, because we talk on the same language. You have this very rich project management background, and you said you did your PMP in 2002, right? Oh my God, in this project management industry.
I've seen quite a bit of stuff around there, so it's quite and actually. I've learned a lot more in the last 3 or 4 years since I've been doing the podcast, interviewing people like yourself and finding out sometimes alternate and challenging views, but also some fascinating history about how other people have got into and have their project management careers have moved forward. So I suppose kind of wrapping up, is there anything that you wanted to say that I've not given you a chance because I keep interrupting, or?
No, you see, in terms of, we're talking about project management from the first minute, and the world is moving quite fast. And I would rather say that PMO is already there, the buzz is already there, and the opportunity is unbelievable in next couple of years and decades, right? So I really, if you are a project manager, you are into project management, my recommendation would be, think to develop your career as a PMO, because there is a huge gap. There is a huge gap, and they are one of the most highly paid professionals around the world at this moment. the experienced PMO, right? So for this, we PMO Global Institute, we are one of the institutes in the world. We have the entire PMO suite. You need content, you need certification, you need software, PMO software. We have the entire suite. We have a lot of free sessions. We have our associate membership, which is free, where you can download this framework, get a lot of case studies for free. Get in touch with us whenever you need any templates you need regarding PMO, right? Feel free to reach out to us, and we are there to help you to solve your PMO problems, right? And I would strongly recommend think PMO as your career, and next 20 to 30 years is going to be a gold mine for all of us. All right? Yeah. Get back to
Brilliant.
you.
So that's fantastic. So if people want to get in touch with you or find out more about the Global Institute, what's the best ways to get in touch with you?
Oh, fantastic. Our team is very active in LinkedIn, but still our website is there. Our
Okay.
website is there. And also, if you want to get some certifications, you can also visit the website, and there is a, training and development section, and you can find all the best trainers out there.
Hmm.
If you want to get access to this particular guidebook, all right, probably you may have to actually, there are two options. One is you go and upgrade, which costs like $89, right, to get access to this guidebook. Other option is you join one of our upcoming events. So in every events, if you win the quiz at the end of the session, we award 5 people free access to this guidebook,
All right,
right?
cool.
So all options are open.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, all it leaves me to say is thank you, Abdullah. It's been a fascinating conversation. And good luck with the next few years of building up this PMO capability within the world.
Thank you, Nigel, and it was really, pleasure and honor for me to actually to join these sessions with you. You have an unbelievable great profile, and I really love the concept, the Sunday projects,
Yeah.
right? So, which is your initiatives, the fantastic initiatives. Keep doing it, keep giving your time, and any support you need, we are always there, right? And I really appreciate and the journey you have also taken to promote project management and PMO. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Cheers now.